The white-tailed deer is America's favorite big game animal, and white-tailed deer farming is the fastest growing segment in the American agriculture industry. Our program's mission is to dive into the world of deer farming and discover why tens of thousands of Americans compete to create the biggest bucks in the world. And by the biggest bucks, we don't just mean the size of the antlers. The financial investment opportunities produced even on small parcels of rural land will blow you away. Join me as we discover how white-tailed genetics, deer auctions, animal husbandry, and so much more drive the deer farming industry. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. Well, howdy, Jesse.
How you doing, Keith?
I'm doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, howdy, everybody, and welcome to show into Schulenburg, Texas. We're at Limitless Genetics, and I'm excited to tell you that Jesse represents what I think is going to be the new guard in the deer industry, and we'll tell you more about that on today's show. Let's go see some deer.
My name's Jesse Boger. I'm with Limitless Genetics. Our goal is to produce a nice frame with some extras and also to improve other people's genetics.
So the farm is beautiful. I mean, it's right off the highway. You'll be able to look at it. It's off the highway by about 400 yards, but you can see the pens, and the pens are big and roomy. The cool thing about it is that he doesn't have overcrowding in the pens. And then, of course, Mia, I mean, she's bottle raising the fawns, and she loves every minute of it. And I love watching Mia and Jesse work together at doing all the chores on the farm. And I think how cool is it for a young couple to be able to spend the time on a farm and build not just a business, a farm, but build their relationship at the same time.
So being in the deer breeding world and raising fawns for the past 5 or so years has definitely taught a lot about patience and hard work. These animals are extremely high maintenance, but the reward of taking care of them far exceeds anything else that I've done. I love each one wholeheartedly, no matter how much they make me mad, no matter how much they fight me, how much of a troublemaker they are, but yes, they are very much like my children, and I try to make sure they all good, they all healthy, they all get to be big and strong and have babies of their own in a couple years. Yes, ma'am. Here in just a couple minutes, Jesse and I are going to start tagging a couple of new fawns. One of the things that we like to do is to use the All-Flex tissue sampler. That way it already creates a hole for the ear tag, and we're already getting our tissue sample in the same time. It is created by All-Flex, and this is just to show you what a new one looks like, and we were able to get them personalized with their tag numbers, so that way we don't have to identify the sample later on. And then this is one that already has a sample in it, but you can see at the very top the tissue that came from the ear. But it is more accurate than doing a hair sample. It's also a little bit less stressful on the animal since you are tagging them at the same time. But also, we do tag the animals for identification as far as regulation purposes go as well.
So you take this tissue sample, you send it into the lab, and the North American Deer Registry provides a certificate back to you with verification of who that deer is. Now, the reason why that's important and to be able to get in NADAR now is because now they're using SNPs technology. And what that means, they've got over 400 markers to assure the parentage is absolutely 100% accurate. There's not many young people today, in my opinion, that want to grow up and live on a farm. Most of them want to live in the city and be around city things, but it's encouraging to see people like Jesse and Mia that are they got their family out here on the farm, and they love every minute of it. So I think things are good as long as we have young people that want to live on the farm. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by MVP Whitetails, Dr. Ray Favero's Whitetail Genetics, UVC Power Sports Tractors and Outdoors, and Vandergrift Toyota in Arlington, Texas. Now it's time for one of our frequently asked questions. Okay, so people often ask me, how do values get established for deer in the deer industry? And that's a good question. Well, one of the good ways to find out what deer sell for is to come to a deer auction. Right now, this is the Texas Top 30, and it's an event held every year. And the biggest breeders in the country come to this. Of course, Jesse Boger's going to be here, and he's got just animal in the sale, but you're going to be able to establish values by watching what other people are willing to pay for certain animals. And it's not uncommon to see deer go for $100,000, $200,000, and even more, or even small percentages of ownership. So it's important to attend deer sales, whether you're in the business or out of the business, to be able to establish values of the deer. If you've got questions, we've got answers. Head on over to deerandwildlifestories.com and hit the FAQ tab, where we've got tons of answers to questions. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, so we're going to start out here in the big pen. So how big a pen is this? This is new since the last time I was here.
Correct. There's 2 5-acre pens, and we got it open where they can have all 10 acres of it.
And there's looks like 18, 20 bucks in here, and they're all pretty good sized deer.
Correct.
Why in the world did you add pens on that are this size?
Try to get them ready for when you release them and stuff like that. So majority of these would be stalkers and DMP bucks, so it just kind of gets them ready to where they're going.
Okay, so these are obviously older deer. They look like 3-year-olds to me.
There's majority 2-year-olds, and then there's a couple handful of 3-year-olds in here.
Okay, so golly, they're big though. I mean, some of them are really exceptional. All right, so tell everybody what a DMP buck is.
So basically, ranches will build a 5-acre pen or so, and they buy does and a buck, and then we're able to put those does and a buck in that 5-acre pen and let them breed for the full year, and then we release their fawns out.
And then what happens to the does and the buck?
They can get released out, and then in 30 days or so, you're allowed to bring them back in to breed again if you like.
Wow, so that's a pretty good program. So if somebody has a ranch that they're looking at trying to improve their genetics, that's a real good way to do that.
Right, it streamlines it pretty fast.
And so, and people can do that, I guess, when you have a DMP client, and once they establish a pen, it would seem like to me they do that year after year after year.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, and the reason why that clearly to get new inventory, a new age class every
Right.
single year. So, okay, so these deer in here, they're all, I guess, I mean, the genetics are phenomenal on them, just like the deer in the rest of the farm.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so what distinguishes for you what is going to make these guys a DMP buck or a stalker buck, and not to keep it for breeding?
Basically, it's personal wants and needs for that client. I mean, they'll come out here and justify what they think is best for them and work around that.
Okay, so I mean, somebody, when you come out here and if you're going to come in this big pen, you better have a pair of binoculars. And the reason why is because these deer, I mean, they got plenty of room to roam. But plus at the same time, this is like a soft release pen.
Correct.
It
Yes.
acclimates these deer to live out in the pasture. So that's good. I'm glad to see it. I mean, it's a long ways over there. And these deer have to work at it. You know, a lot of these deer, I want to point out that when we're doing the show and you see all these deer in the pens, and I mean, they've got all this antler growth. That's what we like. That's what we're trying to do. They'll have all these stickers and all. When you wind up letting these deer go and they become wild deer out in the pasture, tell them what happens.
They just clean up. You're taking them out of a controlled environment and you put them in an uncontrolled environment. They go back to their natural state.
Yeah, and so what happens, a lot of people think, oh, that deer's got just too much stuff for me. I don't want to see that on my ranch. I understand that. I totally get that.
100% agree.
But the whole deal is, that's the reason why I threw it to Jesse, because I'm always preaching. It's like, those deer are not going to look like that when you put them in the pasture. You put them in the pasture, they've got the phenomenal genetics that if they're not stressed nutritionally or physically or sexually, anything like that, if they're not stressed, they're going to push all that antler growth. But when you put deer out of the pasture, they become stressed.
Yep.
That's just the way it is. And that's the reason why these big pens like this allow those deer to become acclimated and get ready for release. And also, by doing that, the survivability chances improve tremendously.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, so, well, that's phenomenal. Okay, so, yeah, see, you didn't have this last year. Okay, so last year I was out here, we did just really 2 segments on a show.
Right.
Because we shared the show with Connor up the road.
Yep.
And anyway, so I didn't have a chance to see everything that they've got here at Limitless Genetics. So anyway, this is a good opportunity for me to do so. And everybody in the industry is talking about a deer that you got here by the name of Inception.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, you were so modest and all. It's like, and you haven't been breeding deer very long.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Inception.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, let's go look at some more deer.
Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Divine Genetics, LE Fence, Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds, Massey Ferguson Tractors at UVC Power Sports, and by New Dart. Deer and Wildlife Stories will be right back. Closed captioning is brought to you by Advanced Deer Genetics.
Okay, so you've got property and you're wanting to build, maybe a barn dominium, maybe deer facilities, or maybe a badass lodge. Well, you've got to check out Rafter P Construction, the leading design build contractor across the state of Texas. Specializing in quality farm and ranch projects, Rafter P Construction encourages their customers to be very hands-on. Rafter P Construction will be with you every step of the way to make your one-of-a-kind build a reality. Your buck, the buck that really puts you on the map is named Brain Freeze.
Correct.
Okay, and so we filmed Brain Freeze. He's an unbelievable deer in the industry. And at the time, he had his antlers still on him. I mean, he looked really, really good. But we were out here last year and we filmed Brain Freeze, and he had his antlers cut off.
Right.
And the reason why was, tell him.
He tends to start rubbing pretty early and kind of damages them. This year he decided a few days ago that he was going to break the tip of his main beam off. So in that case, it was safer just to cut him and keep him healthy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to, you already know what he's going to do, so you might as well cut his antlers. So
exactly.
The point is, Brain Freeze gets huge, okay? Now take a look at these Brain Freeze 2-year-olds in this pen. These are all out of Brain Freeze?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Holy smokes. I mean, they're huge. I mean, it's but who is that guy right there?
That's Inception.
That's what everybody's talking about.
That's
goodness gracious.
That's our favorite 2-year-old this year.
Yeah, I can see why. So give a pedigree on him.
He's Brain Freeze, Express, Easy Does It, Free Agent, Dream Buck, Orange Street 12.
Holy smokes. Yeah. But he's stacked.
Yep.
I mean, so, okay, he was born here?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Is he a result of AI or not?
No, actually, that's a lot from a live cover.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool. Okay, how wide do you think he is?
32, 33 maybe? Yeah, he looks good.
Okay, so compare him to his dad, okay, at the same age. I mean, how does he look like compared to Brain Freeze?
He's got some similar beams, but other than that, I mean, he's a lot more wider. I mean, he's going to be close to, I mean, he's almost 10 inches wider. I mean, his tines are a little smaller than Brain 2, but he's got pretty much everything else.
Do you have any partners on him yet?
Yes, I got 5 partners. We got Double Dime, Gonzales Whitetails, Mossy Rock, San Jose, and myself.
That's cool. And partnerships are fantastic because it allows people to get in on a deer. You lower your risk on the deer, clearly,
yep.
But you're able to get that deer bred out within the industry, 100%. And you're able to prove that deer. And so if you're a deer breeder and you're interested in trying to get your hands on some good semen and be able to prove deer and deal with reputable people, I would encourage you to look at partnerships, and you do partnerships quite often, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And so it's not any kind of new business deal to you. You're used to structuring them. But what's going to happen with these guys, other than like Inception? You're going to use him throughout the industry. They're going to use him to breed, and you're going to keep him. What about these other guys?
We'll probably keep a couple to stay back and watch them at 3, and then the other ones are going to breeder pens. Breeder pens / DMP pens. Okay.
So how many of the deer that, I mean, you're, for a guy that hadn't been growing deer very long, you're growing some giants, okay?
Thank you.
How many of these deer wind up going for stalkers? Percentage-wise, what do you think?
About 80 to 90%, depending on the year.
Okay, and that's phenomenal, because most people, I think they probably have 80 to 90% go to stalkers. I really do. I think it's that high. Yeah. Okay, and that's a proof how good his deer are. And so what a stalker is a buck that, or a doe for that matter, that goes out in the pasture, and you're proving the value of the deer by bringing in better genetics. And so that's pretty cool. So, all right, so tell everybody your website address.
It's limitlessgenetics.com.
And you can go there and you can see lots of great information, or you can give Jesse a call if you want to come out here. And this is located, if you're on Interstate 10 and you're between Houston and San Antonio when you come to the Schulenburg exit.
Yep.
It's just south of that, 15 minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
we're
close.
easy to find.
And be prepared to see some really good deer for a guy that hadn't been, breeding deer that long, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's talking about you got a unbelievable yearling.
Yeah, you never brain freeze.
Yeah,
We're pretty proud of.
Listen to this. Yeah. Okay, let's go look at him.
All right, sounds good.
Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Maloof Whitetails, the North American Deer Registry, New Dart, and Whitetails of Louisiana. Now some great information on fencing from our friends at LE Fence.
Hey guys, it's Ron with LE Fence. Just want to talk to you real quick about coyote wire or predator apron, whichever way you want to go with it. Essentially, this is for whatever you want to put down around the perimeter of your property in order to keep any predators from getting into your ranch. So obviously though, out here we're in a bit of a rocky terrain. You can't always get that net wire fence all the way down to the ground like you like it to. So number one way to help keep predators from coming in is lay down the wire. So you can see I'm standing here on top of our coyote wire. We went ahead, we stretched it tight, corner to corner or brace to brace, and then went ahead and hog ringed it to the bottom of your game fence and your gaucho barbed wire so that you got all one big fabric so that there's no weak points in your fence. Then you go ahead and you go and stake the coyote wire down on the edge with rebar. That'll help it keep from pulling up or rolling up to give the animals less space to try to have to dig to get into your property. If you have any questions, go ahead and give me a call. Information's at the bottom of the page. Thanks, guys.
So this is the second time that I've been over at this farm, and I'm very impressed. And I started out at the beginning of the show saying that it's like this, the new guard. Jesse kind of represents what I think is going to be the new guard in the deer industry. And what I mean by that is that the deer industry, just like any other industry, is kind of run by old timers, so to speak, people that helped build the industry, and people that are still big staples in the industry. But new people are always coming in, and what we're trying to do on the show is to feature those new people. And so whether it's Jesse Boger here at Limitless Genetics or whether it's Jade Webster, I think that those guys, those young guys coming into the market that are aggressive, they're passionate, they're very successful, I think that they represent who's going to be the new guard of the deer industry.
So Jesse and I are here at the Deer Breeders Convention. This is the August convention. It's usually one of the bigger conventions for deer breeders throughout the entire year. And usually around the summer shows, this is our chance to show off the bucks that we've been growing throughout the year. Everybody gets to showcase what they've been able to produce. And then the auction part usually consists of us selling new fawns from our recent breedings from the year before. Also any open does that we have. And then we can also choose to sell those particular does to semen or bucks off our farm. So it really just kind of helps get the next generation of deer ready into other people's facilities.
Deer farming world is unlike any other business world I've ever been in. Deer farming world, your competitors are your helpers or your friends, and sometimes they're your partners. And so when we talk about partners on deer, it's important to be able to partner up with deer because of the relationships that it brings and the opportunity that it brings. Partners allow you to minimize your risk on a deer, and it also allows you to be able to get the semen from those deer out in the industry used on different herds, so you can see how that deer performs with different breedings.
Not only do we partner with our own deer, we do partner with other farms on their deer. So a couple new bucks that we're excited about is Major League at MVP Whitetails. He's a horsepower son on Easy Does It on Yellow 122, which is a super doe for the refuge. And then also we're partnered with MVP on Supreme, which is another horsepower son, Triple Crown on Black One. Just a beautiful yearling with the right look.
All right, so that's War Admiral,
Yes, sir.
4 years old?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now you had a partner in him, or have a partner in him, Jason Milligan.
I've had, yes, sir.
Okay, and so all these yearling bucks out of him?
Actually, most of these are brain freeze yearlings.
Okay, all right, so why do you have him in here with them?
It lets him be the dominant one. And he gets to eat first, he gets to drink first, gives him the best chance to grow the best set of antlers.
Okay, well, they're good all the way across the board. They're real nice. Okay, but you got one last pen of yearlings I want to take a look at, and you got one buck that everybody's talking about.
Yes, sir.
Let's go sell. So who do we have in here?
So these are all AI yearlings. And then we have one brain freeze yearling we call Dynamic. And then there's one 2-year-old we call Chaos.
That's gotta be Dynamic right now.
Yes, sir, yeah. He's the big one.
Goodness. Holy smokes, that's gotta be the best yearling you've ever raised.
It's definitely the biggest, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. Pedigree on him.
It's a brain freeze express on a double bred Texas Queen doe.
Okay, you hear brain freeze again. I mean, brain freeze is just getting it done over and over again, so that's incredible. So what are your plans with him?
We're gonna pull semen on him and maybe breed a couple does to him and hope for next year type deal.
Okay, and by the time he's 2, you'll be able to tell whether you, what I call a franchise buck or not, one that you really want to take.
Yeah, he's gotta make another jump.
Okay, so who's this other buck in here with him? The big one?
That's a Voodoo Magic Express son. Voodoo Magic on Express.
How old?
2. It's Chaos.
Okay. Boy, that's a heck of a deer.
Yeah, he's nice and wild.
Chaos.
Yes, sir.
That's a good name for him.
Yeah, it's cool.
Especially when you look at the pedigree.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, it's a little different. That's good. All right. Well, Jesse, I want to tell you thank you for having us out. I mean, last year we came out here and we did 2 segments, a half a show
Yes, sir.
on your place, and it really didn't give me a good opportunity to, first off, spend time with you and get to know you better and get to see your place better. I mean, the place is beautiful. The pens are big, spacious. I love the grass in them. It's really cool, and the deer are big.
Thank you.
And so I really appreciate you having us out, and I appreciate y'all for watching. If you're watching online, you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and post them below. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. And
thanks for coming out.
well, thanks again, and I'll see y'all next time.